Hey guys, I'm going to show you 3 different things today. All 3 have to do with painting. And so you can choose which one you want to do, or you can choose it. There'll be some other things you can choose from as well, just in case you don't have paint available. But some of you have been asking me what you could do with the canvas boards that I sent you. So I wanted to go ahead and give you some options, that way you'd be able to try your hand at some things. One of them is a painting that we do with yarn, and it looks like this when it's finished. Or sort of. You can change that around and make it look different ways if you want. But you make the flowers by dragging yarn. So you might want to give that one a try. I think you'll find it fun. Another one, I told you that I would show you how to paint the lily pads. I didn't add anything else to this yet, but I will. But for now it just has the lily pads on it. So the other one is this. And I'll show you how to paint those lily pads and how to do that background blend. The last one that I'm going to show you today is the birch trees. Some of you did this in my class before, but never on a canvas board. And these actually turn out really good. Let's see if you can see the snow on there. I think you'll enjoy this. Everybody who did it last year enjoyed it, and we just did it on paper. So now you can try your hand at it on canvas. And this is another one. And I'm going to try to put some more fun stuff on there for you this week that I think you'll really like. So let's get to it. Okay guys, we're back. And this time what we're going to do is, I mentioned when we did our lily pad drawings and blendings with our color pencils that I would show you how to do them with paint. And we're going to do that now. And I mentioned in that video that when you do the lily pad painting, if you're using paint, you're going to want to do your background first, not your lily pads first. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and do our background. Now, to do our background, we want to use our lightest shade of blue to start with. And you can use a darker one if you want to, but since we're going to have blue sky up here and blue water down here, we want our sky blue to be a lot lighter than our water blue. So we're going to start with the lightest. And we're just going to put a little strip that across here, and you can go ahead and laugh. I already hear some of you, Zayden. I can hear what you're saying without even being there, so it's perfectly fine. And we want to take our darkest blue, which we actually have some of here, and put across the bottom, but I prefer to use the squirt method when we're blending, because it does look better. And we kind of want a medium in the middle, a little bit of a blend in between. And we should be able to get that once we start, when these two meet and we start mixing them, just like with our sunsets when we blended those up. Okay guys, we're back. I just wanted to run and grab one of these, because this is the best brush for doing backgrounds. And the one I had already in here, we used for white, for something else. So until I clean that out, I just needed to get us another one. So we're always gonna, just like with your chalks and with your pencils, we're always gonna start with our lightest color. Okay? And we're gonna go ahead and work that across. Get us a good smooth color going there. And with this, you can kind of, these canvas boards that I sent home with you guys, all of them have been pre-primered, so you don't have to worry about it soaking up your paint and then having to go back and redo areas. You don't have to worry about getting it uber thick just because it's soaked up. Now you'll notice there while I was away, I did throw in a medium color blue right there, just a couple little streaks of it. And that's fine. You see it's getting darker and darker, just like with our chalks. That's why we want to always start with our lightest color. Even if you wanted your lightest color to be at the bottom, you would just turn your board over. Or you could just go ahead and, if you're good at working from bottom to top, you could just start at the bottom. You just want to make sure you do your lightest shade first. Now I've got too much here. I want to blend some more of this top down in here. So what I'm doing is I'm using a paper plate. Miss Tammy doesn't have a big fancy palette, so paper plate works just as good. And I'm just kind of mashing out all that extra paint. And I'm going to take some more of this lighter blue that you see at the top. And this part is totally up to you guys, really. When you blend these up, that's all on you. You blend it till it looks good. As I was saying, make our sky meet our water. So, sorry about that. Phone call there. If Miss Tam, so now I'm gonna put a little bit more dark on the very bottom of my brush, but the only reason I'm doing this is so I don't smear the light in down here while I smooth this out. That's the only reason. And listen, when you're talking about water, it's okay to have these streaks and the lines running through it, because it kind of gives it that wavy look, doesn't it? And listen, when people buy expensive artwork, I'll tell you something else too. They like artwork that you can see the brush strokes in. So don't think just because you can see the lines that you did something wrong. You absolutely didn't, and it looks great that way. See, just put a little wave on that. There we go. Now, this is not going to be the traditional lily pad, but this is why I said you probably would want to do your background first, because it's really hard to paint around your little objects. So unlike a lot of paintings, this one we want to let it dry so that we don't get any blue in our lily pads or our pretty flowers. So let's let that dry and we'll come back. Okay guys, our water has dried, our water and sky, and we are ready to start adding our lily pads and flowers. Now, just for the sake of me not having to open up too many paint colors, I'm going to make all of my lilies today are going to be yellow. So I've put a little bit of yellow here in this little jar, and I'm using a very tiny little brush. You can use whatever size works well for you. You could even use paint pens. Those would look pretty too. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make me a few lilies. Now, these are a little bit more difficult in paint than they were in pencil, of course. But as long as you dab your paint like that, make it kind of heavy, they'll still look very yellow and the blue will not overpower. And they kind of have texture to them that way too. And yours don't have to be this small. In fact, they'd probably look better if I made them a little bigger. It'd certainly get it finished a lot quicker, wouldn't I? I know some of you fellas, that's exactly what you're thinking about. Which way will get me done the fastest? So, just kind of round that bottom a little bit, just like a little bowl or a cup. Because they don't have to be shaped perfectly. There we go. You do them in the way that works best for you. Now, the thicker that paint is, the longer it takes it to dry. That's the only thing you need to, it really makes a difference on it. You can make it as thick or as thin as you like. The thicker it is, the more it'll be yellow and the less blue will show through. Okay, and you kind of see how it's done. I'm going to go ahead and fill my picture up with lilies, and then we'll be back. Okay guys, I went ahead and colored me in some of my yellow lilies, as you can see. And then I took the darker green and made some lily pads. I went over them a little bit to give them highlight and to show lighting with that lighter yellowy green. So I've left a few empty here so that we can do them together. So can you see that good? Yeah, I think you'll be okay. Now, we just want to take our darkest shade of green that we've got. I'm using a very tiny brush. And we'll make our lily pad shape on here. And we don't need to make this really super wet like we did our yellow, because we'll just use these wet spaces where we did our outline to pull it down and fill in all the blue. And it doesn't have to completely cover it up because we want it to have kind of a blue-green look to it anyway. This one here I want it to be a little bit bigger, so add a little bit more green to that one. Okay. Just like we did in the pencils. Make your shape. It's almost like a sideways heart on one end. And you just bring it on around and then start using those little extra bits of color that you have kind of balled up in the outline and pull them out. See? To cover up the rest. They don't have to be straight either. No two leaves are exactly alike. So I'm going to fill this in. I just want to be careful right around our yellow because we don't want to have to do that over again. Okay, so we've got some lily pads, and you can also, in yours if you want, lots of times you'll see green lily pads floating along that do not have a flower on them. If you want to make a couple of those in your painting, by all means you can do that. Just want to fill that color in. Okay, and now we're going to add some light. See the lighter green that I did there in a few spots? That's all we're going to do. I'm just going to add some lighter green textures and colors, and sometimes you may just want to put it on one end. Okay. The light's only going to be hitting this guy from this side. So that side of the plant's going to be a lot darker. How you add your light is totally up to you. I think this one I'm going to go with the one end light hitting it from this side. There we go. See, it doesn't show right here because it's more of a shadow on that side. The flower makes a bit of a shadow. Now, we talked before, you know, in the one that we did with pencils, we put some greenish color down in the bottom, and that's totally up to you if you want to do that. You may want to leave it like this. This looks very pretty just like it is. If you want it that way, you know, we went from water up here to sky, so you could very easily take your big fat brush, dip it in some white like that. You don't need the whole thing soaked, just dip it in there. And just do it like that. Give yourself some clouds up there. And you could leave your clouds looking like this, or you can do one better. And you can take a sponge, or I like using a small paintbrush, but I don't see mine right off. But you can take your sponge and you can just kind of smear that out, just like it would be in the sky. You know, they may not always look like perfect fluffy little clouds. They may look very smeary, and that's okay if you do that. And I think I'm going to put some puffiness back in right in here. Just like that. And this is where you can get really creative. Maybe you want to put a boat out here. If you did, your lilies are tiny, so your boat's not going to be covering that much. Personally, I don't think I like the clouds too much, so I think that Miss Tammy is going to blend her clouds right back out. And I'll show you how to do that. If I can get any more light blue out of here. I used this brush, didn't I? Yep. So I'm going to mash out most of that color there because most of that is dark and I don't really have another brush to go switch to right now. So I'm just going to blend in this light blue here. And I'm going to blend out that white. I think I like it better with just the light blue. But you paint it however you like it, okay? That's the beauty of paint. If you do it one way and you don't like it, well, you just turn it into something else. There we go. And that's really all there is to it, guys. If you want to add a little bit of highlight underneath it in the water, you can do that. See, just take that lighter green that you used for your color and just very, very lightly. Not nearly as much as we did when we used pencils. There, we got a little bit of highlights going on our water. It's almost like it's the reflection on the water of your lilies. So, if you decide to do this, I'm very interested to see how you do. Now, one thing you will want to do is you'll want to get yourself a little bit of orange before we get too far gone. Just a tiny bit. And even that's probably a little too much, what I squirted out there. You can see it's just a teeny bit. And just barely get you some. And if you don't have a ton of brushes, you could do this with a toothpick. Just because it's so tiny. Or any kind of itty bitty little stick. There you go. Put you some little stems there in your flower. Just a itty bitty bit. Tammy's hands are starting to shake. And it's making me mess up just a little bit, so. But like I told you, I'd come back and fix it if I don't like it, just like you can. So there you go, guys. You go ahead and make yours how you like it, and I can't wait to see what you do. We'll be back in a few.